So I get to share this opportunity with you guys, with a friend of mine, a partner of mine. This lady's just, when you get to know Keely, she just gives and gives and gives. She's kind. She serves other people. But I'll tell you, in her own way, she's selfish. She was out looking for this opportunity. She grabbed it, she saw it, and she said, I'm going to do it. And she's really able to put herself in a position where she's making money. She was able to quit her job so she can go real estate and business full time. And you guys give it up for Keely Austin. Come on up. So I'm gonna let Keels just kind of tell you a little bit about her story, and then we're gonna set this up with all the numbers on this deal, how she found this deal, how she found this house, and how she got started with Renatus and that kind of thing. And you know, it's an open forum, so there's no wrong questions. Unless you're Dr. Gary, I'll probably ignore the question. No, I'm kidding. I love Dr. Gary. But no wrong questions, no time. You can interrupt whatever you want. Just raise your hand or just shout out, and we'll be happy to answer any questions we can. If we don't know the answer, we'll lie to you. So that's cool. We won't lie. Go ahead, Keely. Introduce yourself. Everybody, Keely Austin. Woo!
Hi, everybody. I am Keely, and I am going to talk a little bit about how I came to be in this position of doing a fix and flip. And so for the last 6 years, I've been working in the banking industry, and I never really knew anything about real estate, never really had interest in real estate, honestly, and I just knew that I didn't want to work for someone else. So a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine who I've known for over 10 years, has been doing real estate investing, and about 8 years ago, when he first started educating himself on real estate, he and I were both working at Jiffy Lube. And once he got educated, he did a couple of short sales within 9 months, and he quit his jobs, both of his jobs. And now, like I said, it's been 8 years since he did those short sales, and he's not gone back to work. He's just been doing this full time. So I definitely wanted to find out a little bit more about what he was doing and get myself educated. So I've been learning a lot about business ownership and about banking. I've been in banking, like I said, for 6 years, so I knew a lot about the banking products, but because of this community and this education, I've learned about how to differently use banking products to our advantage rather than to the bank's benefit. And so we're still using their products and they're still benefiting from us, but we're not paying as much interest and paying off loans quickly by using some of the strategies that we have here. So I've educated myself quite a bit with, like I said, the business ownership side of it, and with some taxes and credit information. And my main focus has been multifamily. I wasn't necessarily looking to do a fix and flip. However, with that being said, I've been putting it out there that I'm involved with a group of real estate investors, and because of a Facebook Live video that I did about 2 months ago, it was a Facebook Live video at a friend's fix and flip, so it was a different property. And my aunt saw that video, and she knew of a property, this property, that needed to be sold. So she called me, and because of that Facebook Live video and because of this community, I was able to reach out to someone who I knew, Bill. I know and trust. I've been working with Bill for 2 years now, and I knew that he was a great person to talk to about a fix and flip opportunity. And so I called him, and he came in and helped me negotiate the price, and here we are. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, it's cool. So she put an ad on Facebook, if you want to call it that, just a Facebook Live, that she was like, hey, I'm into real estate. This is one of the tours I'm at. And her friend that she was talking about, Michael, was recommending that she do this. Like, that's people ask me all the time, Bill, does anybody think the market's pretty hot right now? Like, it's probably hard, right? Cool. Maybe harder to find deals in a hot market. Like, everybody's selling their house. They know their house is worth more, so they're trying to get more. Would you guys agree with that? If you're in the industry at all, right? So a lot of people come to me and they're like, Bill, how do you know how to get deals? Like, how are you finding deals? You're not, sending out 45,000 flyers a month. And the number one thing I say is, if you want to get into real estate, let people know you're in real estate. Just start talking to people. Let your friends and family know. Let your colleagues know that you're looking to buy houses, that you're working with people that are paying cash for houses. And if there's a housing situation that someone needs help with, you can help them. And that's the number one way to get houses that no one else is competing for, and you get to help out a friend or family or colleague member. And that's what Keely started doing. And we were talking about this the other day. And would you feel, if you were out on your own and you didn't really have my number, or maybe you had Michael's, but he lives in Utah, so you were doing this and a deal comes across your table. I mean, this is your very first fix and flip. So, I mean, did you feel it was beneficial to be able to, like, what was the first thing you did, like when you reached out? I mean, like, how do you feel that benefited you versus just like, oh my God, I got this deal, I got to go meet my aunt and figure this out, right?
Right. So, immediately I thought, okay, I need to analyze the numbers and I need to find out, how, just everything, how much can I get this house for? How much is she trying to sell it for? And how can we make it so that it's a good opportunity for her? Because obviously we want to make it a win-win situation for all the parties involved. And so in order to do that, in order to negotiate, in order to have any idea of what it was going to cost to fix this house and to know what I was going to be able to sell it for and just everything in between, I thought of Bill because Bill's done over 130 fix and flips in the Valley. And so he was a great person to talk to for my first experience. And so going forward with my next deals coming up, I should be able to walk through with a lot more knowledge and experience and a lot less risk.
Yeah, I think that, and that's a great example. I think that at any given time, you guys, with the right book knowledge, or you go to a seminar, or you talk to some friends that are doing it, right now in a market like this, it's possible that you would win. That you could do a fix and flip and get through it, and the market would bear any mistakes that you might make, even if you paid too much. But the market moves, and the market has its trends, and it's very noticeable. And like everybody experienced in 2007, you will get caught. I don't think we're going to have a 70% reduction in price on any given recession soon, I hope, knock on wood, but we will reset, and we will fall back. And 10 or 20 or 30% reduction in price on Maricopa County at 250 grand is a $75,000. And if you got a $30,000 profit in there, you were going to lose money. You know what I mean? And so it's good to have a community to be able to reach out, I think, with people with experience and not just doing one deal, right? Cool. Awesome. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the numbers on this deal. We're going to talk about business, right? And we like to call this the 5 pillars of wealth. And we didn't make it up. We just literally follow what the wealthy do, right? We talk business, taxes, banking, real estate, and education. And we're just going to look at what the wealthy do that the not so wealthy don't do. And we're going to mention, as Keely mentioned it about banking, and we're going to start out with real estate, right? So this is a fix and flip. Now, so what happened when you posted the Facebook Live? Like, how long did it, so she did a live video on Facebook. I don't know what you said. I actually remember I told you I didn't see that video. You were just at the property tour saying, hey, did you ask for if anybody knew of anybody that was selling a house, or what did you do?
I said nothing of the sort. I was literally just saying, hey, I'm at a fix and flip, and just kind of talked about the numbers. I said a good friend of mine found this deal, and said how much he was going to make and how little work he put into it, that he was able to do it without any of his own money or credit. So I just kind of touched on some of those pieces, but didn't ask any questions in the video. But just the fact that she saw that I'm in a group that does fix and flip, she called me because she had a distressed owner that needed to get rid of a house quick.
Yeah, so like anything you guys do, do you ever notice, come on in folks, welcome, when you start to do something different, or whatever your hobby or interest is in, and you're going to a ball game, or go ahead.
I just got a quick question.
Yeah.
Did your aunt know somebody that owned this house, or your aunt owned this house?
It's my aunt's sister, so
Okay.
Technically my other aunt, but I had
Okay.
never met her. I don't know her.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool story. So and it really helped out. And it's a great story of the house, as a lot of real estate is. It's not about cutting people off at the ankles and taking all the money. But I don't remember what I was saying. That happens all the time, just so you guys know.
You're in the shower.
See?
Thorough!
If y'all missed that, it was really good earlier. We were talking, no, it's not. So anyway, fix and flip. Yeah, let's just go with that. So you found that. So she, I know what I was saying. So she just put it out there that she's out looking at fix and flip, that she's getting into real estate, and people start to notice. They might not call you right away, but they'll remember. They'll remember what you do. I mean, I had a golf buddy. It was, he's a golf pro, and And one time, I always told him, like, just let all your clients know that you're in real estate. And one of the ladies that he got a house from, she said the same thing. One day she was taking a lesson. She's like, are you still doing that real estate thing? And people remember. It might not happen right away, but they start to recognize what you're doing if you're out at a property tour. And they're like, what are you doing at a property tour? Why would you do that? And so it worked out.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks or a month that went by, then she called me.
So she called her up, and it was interesting because her text to me was this. It just said, hey, Bill, I got this deal that came across my plate. My aunt has her sister and is moving her out of the house. There's a situation there. And it wasn't like, will you do this? It was just like, would you consider helping me with this, or would maybe perhaps partner? Or she might have had a couple questions. And I just said, absolutely. I just texted immediately. And I always say yes. I mean, that's like my answer to everything. It's like, I'll do it unless I can figure out why I won't do it. You know what I mean? So any opportunity I ever see, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And of course I want to help her. So I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. What do you want a partner? Do you want me to just run the numbers with you? She's like, whatever it takes, whatever you feel, let's just play it out. So she called, I got a hold of her, and we ended up getting a phone call with her aunt, right? And how'd that call go? What was your aunt asking for the house?
So she was asking for 180.
And tell them the story about like what she said.
So when she looked up the house on Zillow, the Zestimate for the house was 210 as is, and so she figured that she would, the house was going to need some work, and so she considered, some money to put into the yard, and then maybe some other interior work. But she was going to do $10,000 in the yard alone, which we're not doing that. And then the rest was another $10,000 or maybe another $20,000 for interior work. And so she was going to sell it to us for 180.
Yeah, so she's like, well, I think it's going to take $26,000 to fix it. So I'll sell it to you guys for 180. So what's 180 plus 26? 206. And what's Zillow say it's worth? I mean, even if Zillow's off by 10%, right? I'm like, wow, there's a lot of profit in that for me. So we got on the phone, right? So it was pretty cool. So obviously we had to do some talking. So we listened to her and we listened to the story. We asked a lot of questions on the phone. And I told her, I said, listen, I've done some preliminary comps on the house because Keely sent me the address. And of course, when I get on a phone call with somebody, I want to obviously kind of have a good idea what the value was. I think that the value was a little bit higher than 210 if we did the right things to it. But I said, there's no way I want to. She's like, well, you really need to see the house because I don't think it's that much work. And a guy with your experience and Keely's experience, you guys will be able to get the labor done for cheaper and all this stuff, like a fix up. And she's like, I think it's a good price. I said, well, based on the way I do my models, there's with carrying costs, with sales costs and purchase costs, I said, I'm going to lose money on this deal. I said, so I'm not even willing to come out to see the house and see how little or more work there needs to be done if you're not willing to at least consider reducing your price. I said, is it fair for me to assume that you're going to think about it tonight and over tomorrow before we come on Thursday and consider reducing your price if I'm going to come all the way out to Chandler and see the house? And she said, yeah, right? Let's, you guys, hey, there's some seats in here. If anybody wants to come on in and join us, there's some, so you guys can hear. Does anybody?
I know they've got kids too.
Oh, they got kids. Okay, so they're good? Okay, I just wasn't sure if they wanted. No problem, no problem. All right, so we came in, we ran around the house, and you guys, for your own selves, when you're in a house with someone who's the seller, in any case situation, and Keely knows this too, we were kind of asking her questions, but I always ask, if you were going to stay, she had already cleaned out the house. And her aunt was in a situation, her aunt's sister was in a situation where she had spent a lot of years and had a little bit, I don't know what the politically correct term is. She mentally wasn't, I don't know, she had her own illnesses that resulted in just a bit of hoarding, if you want to call it that, just really staying in the home and that type of thing. It was just an unfortunate situation. So fortunately, her aunt was risking everything and coming out here and taking her back home to Missouri. And they had done the cleanup. I mean, it got to the point where the neighbors were bringing their trash over here, and they were telling the lady, oh, there's gold in the, there's not real gold, but there's treasures in there for you to take a look. And they were literally using her backyard as a dumpster for years. It was a very unfortunate situation. So we walked through and said, what would you do? And the lady, her aunt had done her due diligence and was really considering what she would do for fix up and what it would cost. And so we went through those things with her. Any thoughts or comments so far before we get? So at the end of the day, I always ask sellers, what what you would do to the house if you were staying here. You know, is there anything that doesn't work, or you know, that's been bothering you the last few years that you haven't fixed or whatever. So they can kind of give you some ideas of what is wrong with the property based on a visual, because I don't have an inspector come out and do it. And then, you know, we went outside, and I said, I went, when we sat down and we were ready to buy the house. I mean, when we go to a house, I mean, we bring a contract. I don't want someone coming in behind, and there, you know, most people, you guys, when there's a house situation, it's gone to the point where it's past urgency. It's to the point where they've already been in denial for long enough, or whatever the case is, and it's time to move. They're ready to move. They're ready to cut their ties. They want their cash. They're ready to go. And so we sat outside, and I just said, did you have an opportunity to think about where you're at with your price based on 180, based on what we talked about today? And what did she say?
She said 150. She was willing to go down to 150.
She said, so right off the bat, before I said anything, she dropped her price $30,000. So do you guys think 150 and 210 is a good deal so far? Like pretty good so far, right? So naturally, win-win doesn't always mean it's an equal amount of money shared. It just simply means both parties walk away very satisfied with the opportunities. That makes sense? So she spoke first, and so what did I say?
You said, are you willing to do 145?
And what did she say?
Yes.
She said yes. So I bought it for 145. Now, I will tell you this. If it wasn't a relationship with Keely, I'm just being honest with you, I would have asked for less. I would have asked for probably 135. I wanted to buy the house. What did I tell you originally?
120.
120. And I would have gone up to 150. But if it wasn't Keely's aunt and sister, I would have asked for 135. And then I probably would have met her somewhere around 140 to 142, I bet. Right? At that point, she's mentally vested in the deal, and I have a contract right there. Yeah.
Where did you learn that skill or that trait? Is it just inherently your nature?
Jake, what?
He said your name.
I come to this every week.
You guys, when you get started with us and join our community, you'll learn Dave's stories, and don't ever take any negotiating advice from Dave Jakewish. I'll take it.
Call Bill.
I learned it at Walmart. No, that's not true. You guys, when I started, my mentor, a friend of mine that I used to work with in real estate all the time, he's now retired, and he used to joke. He'd introduce me, and when Bill started, he didn't know how to spell real estate. And it's almost all true. I didn't know anything really about that. And so the very first class that I studied was a class that we offer called Negotiations. And the CEO of our company, Renatus, and I'll get to that in a minute, teaches the negotiations class. And I used to listen to it over and over again. And I always ask for a number first. And typically, I don't know, 100% of the time, that number will come down. Right? There's always going to be. So he or she who speaks first, in my opinion, will definitely come down from their price. And the thing is it's not necessarily that you want them to come down, but if you have a specific value, right, and they have a specific value, you have no idea what value they're putting on there. So if you're like, I'm not paying more than 120, and they're thinking 80 grand, you know what I mean? That's a big difference, and you wouldn't even know. And you're thinking you're giving them a deal at 120, and they were just glad to get 80. You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what, and I don't mean a house either, but I mean anything at any place, right? Other than there being a price tag on it, you never know what perception they have and what their motivation is for selling. And so anytime there's a conversation, even if it's negotiating labor with my guys, right? You know, I don't want to come out and say, hey, you can, it's really hard right now to get tile laborers to lay tile under $2 a foot, so I'll give you $2.25. And the guy's like, I haven't laid tile in so long, I'd be happy to get $1.50 a foot. You know what I mean? And I completely, by being fair, or what I considered market value, paid him way overpriced, 75 cents a foot. Does that make sense? So, awesome. Any thoughts so far? All right, so Keely and I wrote the contract that day, and then we had walked the property, and let me get my thing. You talk real quick.
So, main thing is my aunt, we have been dealing with this property for 7 years. Her sister lived here. As I mentioned, it was somewhat of a hoarder situation, and so it's just really nice to have taken this property off of her hands. And now her sister lives in an assisted living home in Missouri, so it's just really nice having taken that off of her hands, and she's just really, really happy with the way it turned out. And
Such a
she's
great
happy to be
point.
helping me out with my business as well. So.
Yeah, she was very grateful because they were in a hurry. They had a place to move her to. They had it's not like, and you guys think about this. Most families, when they inherit homes, when they have a family situation, even death, right? We're just not taught to be prepared financially for that burden. And we put it off and we put it off and we know it's coming. And when it comes, we have to obligate. We're human. We have to take care of our family. So we sacrifice everything, and it's stressful, and especially when you're out of state, right? So now you're flying in, and time is of the essence because you're losing work money. You have to pay for the funeral. You have to pay for the moving expenses, moving her into a home, right? So there was all this planning. So there's an urgency to get that cash, and she was grateful to have that money. She owed a little bit of money on the house, but there was a big spread for her on the house, and the aunt wasn't taking the money, right, and taking her sister's equity. She was literally the power of attorney for her entire sister's affairs, and she was going to allocate all those funds to put her sister into a situation where she could live out her life comfortably versus this disaster which was killing her. So yeah, it's just a great point. Thank you for making that point. Yep. So yeah, we went through our repairs. We figure it's going to cost 22 grand to fix the property, and it's all cosmetic. So we're going to do. HOA is forcing us to paint the exterior. I guess they had been giving notices to her for quite some time. So when we closed, the title company kindly notified us, by the way, you have to paint, which we didn't budget for the exterior. But fortunately, this house is what, 1,200 square feet?
It's under 12. It's
Yeah.
11.
So it's not a lot, and I have a really cheap painter. He's not very good at it, and he's right there. He's an investor too, but he's a painter by trade. So we're going to do interior, exterior paint, drywall fix up. Obviously, we did tile. This was a very odd island, so we tore out the top and we're going to make it a nice little breakfast bar. We tiled up the breakfast bar. Yep, yeah, it used to be like a 2-tier one, and
Did you extend this out, or it was that?
it was.
Okay.
Yep. So we sent in. The cabinets aren't too bad. We could have refinished them, but cabinets right now are one of the trades that are pretty expensive compared to what they used to be, and the timeline is much greater. The shipping, the demand, the wood. I mean, it's. I used to be able to do this kitchen for probably $2,500, all new installed shaker cabinets with soft closes. I got bids as high as $55,000 and $6,000 for this little L layout. It's ridiculous. And so we're getting them done. Brand new shaker cabinets, installed, soft close, all new hardware, tongue and groove, all wood. The exact same design that you have here, all the uppers and lowers, for $3,900. Not too bad. And then we're going to do granite. We're going to do tile surrounds in both bathrooms. So we did all the demo. Interior, exterior paint, new baseboard, all new interior doors, and all new fixtures. About $1,000 in exterior landscaping, front and back. There's no roof issues that we know of, knock on wood. Anything else I'm forgetting? Plumbing. We're doing all new plumbing. We're not plumbing the house, and we're not doing any electrical in the house. We're doing 4 can lights. We're going to eliminate the fluorescent light on Monday, and then 4 cans in here, 2 pendant lights to balance this chandelier. That is staying. It's going to be exactly like that. No, it's not. That's going. If anybody wants it, you can have it. That's the only electrical we're doing. All new switches and plugs, so they'll all be new and white, but no new wiring, no new underground plumbing or anything. We never do that unless we're rebuilding. Any other thoughts on rehab?
You have electric outside that needs to be fixed.
We do. And so my electrician, we use licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, and licensed HVAC in 99% of the stuff that I do. If I'm just putting in fixtures or stuff like that, or moving a few outlets, I don't. But when I do can lights, when I do exterior, and so anything that I do like that, my electrician will come in, go through the entire house, and include it in his price for me. He will put everything up to code, including GFIs in the bathrooms, the right distance from the water, any conduit that's not there. If it can't be fixed and it was jimmy rigged or whatever, or there's extension cords running through the attic, he will eliminate those so that an inspector for the buyer won't see those, and then we'll make sure we're all up to code. Make sense? Everything else I just do all under my own self or herself. Yeah.
Do you personally have any experience with can lights? Any reason why you choose electrician?
So Cole's making fun of me, so feel free, everybody. Just keep it up. Just keep the jokes flying. No, you guys. So one of our mentors, you guys, and ladies, you'll find this is that you may have the talent, and I don't. Like my wife. It's funny because like stuff was. Has anybody been to Lowe's or Home Depot lately? Like they got stuff on sale. So I went and bought all these new tools. Like it was really cool. And I'm gonna put on my list, my Christmas list for Santa, that I want a tool thing to put them in. But I'm not allowed to use them. But the problem was I have a lot of garage sales because we get so much stuff. So I buy them on sale, and then at a garage sale they go for like half the price of what you paid. So I lose money all the time on my electric tools.
But I found some good stuff.
I know you did, right? You're like, oh. So anybody know the value of the house in town? Does anybody live near here? Anybody live near here? Yeah, you're right. That's just right on point. So she said 235 to 240. So we originally were thinking 225 when I first talked to her on the phone. When we were walking through the house, I told her that I'd done a little bit more research on the house, and I was thinking 230 minimum. And now the way we looked at it, what we're going to do to it, hopefully, and the market does move a little bit, but there's very low inventory under 250 grand in any part of the valley. And so, and there's high demand in that range. If you're buying and selling houses under $280,000, you set yourself up to have 80% of the buyers in the area. Does that make sense? 80% of people buying houses are buying them under $300,000. And so, yeah, we're going to shoot to list this between 235 and 240. So I'll keep a 235 price. What was the question? Any questions?
I just said awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So let's do a little math. Who wants to do a little math with me?
I've got a calculator.
Who's got a calculator?
We all have a calculator right here.
Okay. So generally speaking, a couple things I want to say. Generally speaking, how much do we sell a house for, typically? When you do an estimate on a property, do you know what you usually estimate?
About 5,000.
Do you do a percentage at all? No. So I sometimes do a percentage, and anything under 280, 300, I do 10%. Just for rough numbers when I'm first analyzing the house. And this is why: 1% for my closing cost, 3% to the buyer, right? And 3% for an agent on the buying side, and 3% for an agent on a selling side. That's 10%. Now, Keely and I are going to give our listing agent a 5% listing. Okay, so we save 1% there. We're going to give them 2%. They'll either split it with the buyer or seller, or they'll keep 2% for themselves and give 3% to the buyer, right? To the buyer's agent. Now, the reason I say 3% for the buyer is because most people that are buying in this range just have enough to pay for the down payment. They don't have enough money saved up in life, because we're just not taught what you guys are about to learn today. They're not taught to have all that. So it's a very difficult stretch, and they're trying to buy the most house for the least amount of money based on what they make and what their W-2 says and what their tax return says, and they don't have enough money to pay for closing costs and pay for it because they're getting a loan. And loans are at least 2% for them, typically. Origination, doc fees, processing, all these loan fees, right? So they ask the seller to pay for that. But in a market like today, and in a demand like we have right now, we are not necessarily going to calculate this 3% in, because if they are, I want them to add it to the price of the house. Does that make sense? Because as sellers in a market under 250, we have the upper hand in today's market. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But we'll calculate it in any way for right now, and then we'll consider 1% for us to close, which is our taxes that we got to pay while we hold it. It's our title escrow, and our lender's policy. I mean our buyer's policy that we're going to pay for the new buyer, right? So all of our closing costs, 1%. So what's 8% of 235? What's 235 times 8%?
18,800.
Okay, what did I say fix up was? 22 grand?
Yep.
So we'll call it 22,200 to make it nice and even. When we bought the house, do you think there are closing costs when you buy it?
Sure.
Absolutely, right? There's still title escrow. Well, we got a hard money loan on this house. A hard money loan just means that it's a non-asset based loan. So anybody here, the way we bought this house, It's my roofer at my house right now. Shoot. Excuse me. Yeah, do you want to? Hey, Leo. Leo? No, hello? I think he was just butt dialing maybe. Okay, they're like, I got like 7 roofers on top of my house right now. We paid $145 when we bought it. And I don't remember, I can't remember the closing costs. When we bought the house, there was title, escrow. We had to pay for the lender's policy for our hard money lender. We got credit for the taxes for the year. There was an HOA transfer and an HOA disclosure and a mobile notary because she was out in Missouri when she signed on the deal. And so our closing costs were that is a cool. Where are you?
Greater than 3?
So our closing costs were actually $4,000 when we bought it. Now, part of that is there's prepaid interest on the loan of $1,100. So we'll just count it for now as $4,000. So we paid $4,000 when we bought the house. And that includes a month of interest basically. And we have a hard money loan. So we have carrying costs. I'm going to grab my calculator here. Hard money lenders, you guys. Any questions? Remember to just yell them out. How much did we put down? Do you remember?
I have it written down, but not off the top of my head.
It's 10%.
Oh, okay.
So we put 10% down on the property. So we bought it for $145,000 times 10%. So our loan.
Is that hard money with Mike and Mike?
It is LM2. So our down payment was $14,500. Obviously, that's easy. And our loan was $130,500 at 12% interest.
Is that what he's running now? 12%?
For 10% down. If you put a little bit less money down on the purchase price and you have less skin in the game, you're going to pay a little bit more interest and your fee might be a little bit higher. Rarely do most lenders allow you to put 10% down, even in today's market, unless you have maybe a relationship with them. Most hard money lenders are going to give you a loan no matter what your credit. They're not going to have you personally guarantee it. They don't care about you. If you have a job or anything, you can get the loan. It's an asset-based loan, but they're typically going to require you to put a 20% down payment on it, right? But in this case, we put 10% down, $14,500. So we expect to have this house for a total of 3 months. So that carrying cost is going to be, it's $4,000 for 3 months of interest. Plus we'll just add up $1,000 for incidentals like all the electricity bills, the taxes, and the insurance. Okay. Now I'm going to keep it in there just for kicks, but in this $4,000 to close, we already paid $1,100 for the first month in prepaid interest. So in theory, this is worth 4 months, but I'll just stick it in there anyway to see where we're at. So $4,000 to carry this loan. So let's do the math. $235,000 minus $18,800 minus $22,200 minus $145,000 minus $4,000 minus $8,500. Is that right?
No. Isn't that 14,000? The 14,500 your down payment, you got that. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is a worst case scenario. The profit on this, potential profit, is $27,300.
All right.
Now, would anybody take that deal right? And make $27,000 in 3 months, okay? Keely, do you have any of your own money in this deal?
No money.
Are you doing any of the fix-up?
No.
Do you enjoy driving down here and checking up on it?
Yes.
Are you learning a lot?
Yeah.
Right? Is it something, right? So I have none of my own money. I borrowed the private money from someone I met in the community to do this deal, right? So the down payment, you're wondering, Bill, where do I get the $14,500? Where did you come up with the $22,000 to fix it? Where do you have the closing cost of $4,000 when you bought it? All of that money came from a private money lender I met in the community. I've been working with Renatus for 10 years. That's where I learned how to invest in real estate. As Keely said, I've probably done over 100 fix and flips of actual fix and flips now. And I've done over almost 135 deals in the last 10 years. In that time, from people I've met in this room, I've raised over $4.5 million from people I've met in the room that have partnered with me on my deals. The majority of the money that I make goes into my own personal residences that I buy for long-term wealth. Does that make sense? I put money into my properties to pay down the mortgages so I pay less interest, and I borrow private money to leverage the ability for me to buy more and more fix and flips. Does that make sense? You guys, if you think about this, what's 3% of 235? Almost $7,000, right? And then I have another 11 that we technically, if we sell it in 3 months, we get back. So that's another $8,000. So in theory, realistically, we should net somewhere around $35,000 on this property. But this is like worst case scenario based on that. If we paid out concessions and it took an extra month to sell it, so it's a great deal and it's a win-win for everybody. You guys like that deal?
Yeah.
Awesome. I will say this, you guys. I forgot to say this earlier, and you know, for Keely and I will say that direct to seller deals and family, friends, colleagues. Those are your greatest deals if you have the education to really make it a win-win and listen. I mean, we sat and listened to her aunt for over an hour Tuesday night before we met her on Thursday. We spent almost 2 hours here, right, that day, before there was any negotiation on the property. It was all about them. But $35,000, it's not typical, right? So it's not like we're out here just crushing it, making $35,000 every single day. There's a house I'm selling out in I don't even know, East Mesa. I'm not going to make any money. Like literally, I'm not going to make any, not a dollar on it. And my partner on it made a few mistakes, and he may even lose some money, right? So it's not typical. The other thing I want you to tell you guys is that these results, that you know, they vary based on your work. But the probability when you learn from people that are doing this, your odds of risk go way down. Odds of risk, is that even a word? Right?
Yeah.
But your risk will go down when you rely on other people's experiences. Your risk will go greatly down when you rely on your own education. And then you have the ability to apply that education. Renatus doesn't pay Keely or I to be up front here. I'm not getting paid any money to be up front here. We're here to share this information with people that want to learn how to do it right. I was just on the phone earlier coming here, talking to a friend, and he was at Tony Robbins. Anybody like Tony Robbins? Like everybody's hand should go up, right? Amazing. But they had a pretty big sell-a-thon in the beginning of Tony Robbins. And they had a lot of gurus there selling different types of products. And there's one guy selling wholesaling. And literally, my friend, he's a realtor and he's an investor partner of mine. I've known him for 10 years and he was educated through Renatus as well. And he's like, Bill, this guy, half of the stuff he was saying was complete lie. It didn't even pertain in today's market. And he was selling this wholesaling product for $1,000. And it had just enough information in this wholesaling product to make somebody want to go wholesale after like reading a book. You know what I mean? And there's so much missing. We don't get paid to be up in front here. We get paid, we do this so we can share this information with other people. Our relationship with Renatus and anybody that invited you guys here is simply this. We're 1099 with them. We're affiliate with Renatus. Renatus is a privately held company, and what they do is they do offer us, if there's a scenario where we may or may not get paid based on people enrolling in our education, but it has nothing to do with these events. Does that make sense? Just want to let you guys know that. But the results that we share are possible. And in fact, when you talk to Cole and Peggy, they've been with us now, how long? A year and a half? 2 years they've been working with us, right? In their very first deal, how much did you make on your very first fix and flip?
A little over $30,000.
A little over $30,000. When you put yourself, Merle, what was that first deal you did? How much did you make on that deal?
$60,000.
60 grand on their very, Yeah, on a mobile home in the west side, right? It's so great job, dude. That's awesome. Kevin Lawrence, his very first deal, $64,400. The possibility is so much greater when you are not on your own. Where's Joe and Sam? Sam. Sam and I were just talking to a girl yesterday, Holly, and you know she's in her. I want to say she's in her 60s, and she's just beside herself financially, and she's gone to these. And there's nothing wrong with some of the guru education, you guys, but she was at this seminar and she couldn't remember the guy's name. She's like, "How good is it if I can't remember the guy's name?" So we Google it and we figure out who it is, and he's selling this product, and they had paid $1,500 for this 3-day event. And she's like, it felt so salesy, and that's their model, it's fine. But she's like, I knew when I went home, I was all alone. Like ended up having knowledge to some extent, but I felt so alone. And when you surround yourself in an environment like this, the ability to create success and have probable results are so much far greater. Does that make sense, you guys? And that's what we talk about here. What thoughts you got before we get going on this? Wrap this up.
This has just gone so extremely smoothly and super low risk, and I'm not putting hardly anything into it, and I'm able to just stay at home in North Phoenix and work on my business, and if I need to come down here and check stuff out, I can. It's just been such a smooth process, and to be making 5 figures in a couple of months from hardly doing anything and helping out a family member is just incredible. I never thought I'd be doing this.
What do you attribute what's the number one thing you would attribute the smoothness and the success of this deal going, and how you feel about it? What is it the education, is it community, or is it what you've learned? What do you feel?
The education is phenomenal. However, I hadn't been studying fix and flip, and so I wasn't able to implement some of the strategies in that class. And so the community by far has been, as far as this deal, has been super, super beneficial, because I've been plugged in for 2 years, so I know a lot of people here very well, and I felt comfortable talking to Bill, so the community is very...
And not getting taken advantage of, right? Not like losing your whole shirt and end up getting a referral fee for a $50,000 deal or something. You know what I mean? It's so crucial what she said. She was studying multifamily. Her and her boyfriend had been looking at fourplexes and duplexes they're going to move into, rent some out and stuff like that. It's a strategy they've been working on. And the fix and flip came up. When I talk about the education, we have over 58 classes. If you're not in land development, and you don't need to be studying the land development, but if you're looking for a fix and flip and all of a sudden a lot split comes up and you have the ability to buy and split the lot and own the one side free and clear because you sold the land and you were able to split it, wouldn't you like to have the access to that education instead of having to search it and go out and buy another guru's program so you can figure out how to do the lot split? Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember a story that one of you guys, and I'm sorry I can't give the credit because I don't remember who it is, so speak up if this was your story, but one of you guys was talking about a property that you guys were at and you were fixing it, and a realtor was there and she wanted to know more, and she actually found out about Renatus and went to a property tour, and her main thing was like, I've been wanting to get into investing, but all of these investors are so closed-mouthed and won't share their secrets, and it's like, it's this secret thing. She's like, I can't believe there's a community that wants to help me learn this. Like, I want to be on that side.
Yeah, she just joined us. That's Jim and Carrie, and it was Ron Breitenbach.
Yeah, that's
Ron
what I
was
thinking,
Ron was looking at a property.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like that's the thing. Like if you think, oh, let me go just find an investor who can share it with me, you're not going to find that open community that wants to give you the keys to your own success. They're going to want to do the deal for you. You know? Yeah.
She has every access to all of my contractors, all of our. I mean, there are no secrets. We're about abundance, and it's just really cool. So that's awesome, you guys. Keely Austin. Woo!